raise your hand, let me know, and then introduce yourself, let us know who you are and where you're from, and we'll go from there. So.
I'm Steve Schreiber. Eco lives right down the road. Andrea, I'm curious how your business plan has changed in the last, or your business strategy has changed in the last 30 days.
Our business strategy has changed in the last 30 days by, we've narrowed our focus down to corporate businesses because there's more pain there. Now, interestingly enough, we've done a lot of advertising in the last week to reach out to companies, but yesterday we got a wedding, so we won't say no to that, but we really feel like we can help provide a service there, and so that's where we want to put our focus into that. We were much broader coming in 30 days ago, and now we've figured out there's more pain on the business side.
I got a question.
No.
So, what's your background, and how did you discover that there's a pain point in this market? Is it a big enough pain point to, have a system like this where people can come in and do that sort of thing?
So my background is I've had a 15-year career in event planning by way of nonprofit fundraising. So I would travel the country meeting with alumni at universities, trying to plan private dinners and things like that. It's difficult to source from out of town. Also got into local fundraising where we planned a lot of events for our donors and fundraising and that sort of thing. So I'm very familiar with the process of searching through and trying to figure out what there is available and keeping that information organized. My business partner, Jared, he has experience with venue management, so he's seen the other side of things and also on the service provision of catering and things like that. So we're well versed in what's happening out there between these two markets. And we really felt that, we had a hunch that, as we came in, that this was painful for us as people, which is where we came up with the idea to make this an easier process. But we actually did 100 interviews with various vendors and event people, and it really is that sort of thing where companies are planning, a couple things a month to just a couple times a year, and they kind of sigh, and the admins go, just deal with it, and move on. But there's a lot of angst and stress in that, and we want to put that to rest for people and make it easier.
Good morning. Julie Fago with Iowa State University. I recently put on a large event, so I've had the angst of working even with event services on campus. What is your differentiator with your competitors?
So our differentiator is that our competitors are not guiding people through that process, and if you're not a professional event planner, you have this sense of, am I forgetting something all of the time? And so we want to build that into the experience where we guide them through the step-by-step so that we're giving them things to consider that they might not even have considered just because they don't know to do that. And then providing them with the tools to then go and do the checklist on the venue search or what to say with the caterer so that they can help standardize that communication between them to make that an easier process. And then also building in the event planner into that in some fashion instead of, like, we hear that, do you want an event planner? And they're like, no, that feels expensive. I don't want to hire an event planner. But if we build it in the reverse and provide that as a service that we're sourcing through the vendor fee, then they feel more comfortable using that service.
One quick interjection that I forgot to mention before. We've got some pitch feedback forms on the tables, so if you guys could fill those out, give our feedback on our pitch, so that's super helpful. So who raised their hand first here? Who's the quickest?
Hi, I just have a quick question. How are you screening your vendors?
Right now, we are planning to screen our vendors through a referral system with the other vendors that they work with. So sort of a vouching process where if they are vetted by other vendors who would recommend them because they all want to look good. So we want to provide like a recommendation tool to vet them. It's happening manually on the back end right now.
Good morning. Scott Swenson Kirk with SBDC. When you roll out your markets, what kind of sales strategy and personnel model do you have when you open up those new markets?
Right now, we're considering a communication manager or a community manager, where somebody goes into the community and really activates the vendors and the businesses and kind of brings that community together. It's following the Airbnb model that's been proven successful for them. So they go into a community-hosted event or two, kind of galvanize people and create some brand awareness, and then get that community going, and then leave somebody behind that helps sort of manage that community, keep it growing and renewing.
There it is.
Hey, Ryan Sunderman at St. Luke's Hospital. So what's the process for the Jessica when she does see these events? Is there a comparator tool like Consumer Reports? Is there a bidding process where the vendors see what they're trying to do and they look at the scope and throw a bid out there based off of certain parameters? What's that process of selection for the Jessica when she's
The streamlined communication tool that brings them through? Well, so we have a form right now on the site that asks for the key details that often are forgotten in just the initial contact, budget, head count, type of event you're looking for, kind of help them think up front what they need, and that way the vendor, and the date, that's key, that's forgotten all the time. And so there's a lot of back and forth happening right now where 4 or 5 emails go out, and then they have to, and then it figures out that they can't, the size isn't right for the venue, or the date's not going to work, and that sort of thing. So we want to standardize some key information to help streamline that lead process to say, yep, let's talk further, or no, I just can't help you because of these reasons aren't a match. So we're trying to match that quickly. So we're making our vendors share their availability with us so that we can make that happen faster.
You get overloaded, you may end up getting like 15 or 20 different vendors talking to you, but then are they going to be overloaded by the number of vendors that are trying to get their business?
Well, as the way it would work in our site, which we're still developing, is that it would filter down with the best match. So you kind of get 5 at a time to sort of say, these are the 5 that hit your top matches of what your requirements are, and then these are sort of a match, and and they'll kind of shift through. So yes, you could have an open funnel for that, but we want to give as many options as possible, but in a really organized, comparative way.
Hey, I'm Nate Holler with Intrepid Real Estate. How are people finding you right now? What's the main few ways that they're discovering you these days?
Right now, Google AdWords and Facebook ads and word of mouth through we've relaunched, so we've gotten some recent press and that sort of thing. So it's been really random. We had one just straight through Google AdWords that we turned on yesterday, so that was exciting.
Quick question. Do you have any sort of plans for a rating system for vendors, locations? Is that already active, or what's your plans for that?
Yes, absolutely. Reviews are essential. It's interesting though, like I'm interviewing our potential customers, our business customers, I'd say, do you read reviews? Yes, I appreciate reviews. Do you write reviews? No. So we're going to have to create a system to help incentivize people to rate the reviews that are for business related events, which will really help develop this marketplace.
What is your plan for limiting your liability if you produce an event or help somebody throw an event that goes bad or wrong?
We will have a good lawyer. We plan to. The other companies are doing this similarly in other spaces in the travel space and hotels and things like that, where they're sourcing and making that connection. And there's a way that they're limiting that liability, so we're studying that for them. So we really strictly are a connector, but there are some ways that they're doing to help that marketplace feel comfortable using each other. So yeah, it's definitely on our minds.
I got more if anybody else doesn't have some. How many, quick numbers, how many events do you think you have to book through Venuefox to like make a go out of it and have some positive cash flow?
Our margin is once we get through our startup phase, our margin kind of levels out at around 50%. So we feel that if we're planning 500 to 1,000, working with that number of events a year, we'll be cash flow positive. So.
Hey Andrea, good pitch.
Thanks, Josh.
After Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, and Des Moines, what are your next markets and how are you deciding? Are there certain cities that have a high concentration of events being planned and managed, or higher competition even?
That's one of the things we're developing that strategy now, but right now we're focused on, we're thinking adjacently. So Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, Des Moines, and then there's a lot of crossover with businesses planning events regionally and sort of across the state or that sort of thing. So we want to kind of grow from the Midwest out, and so we focus on, the college towns, and then Cedar Rapids, or not Cedar Rapids, but Council Bluffs, and then Omaha, and then north-south, and kind of hit the 80-35 corridor and jumped out that way, and Lincoln and so forth, and figured that's our best option to kind of source that through the Midwest. And then hit tier 2 cities, Austin, Dallas, those kind of things.
How are you connecting up with the local visitors bureaus? Because I could see, a lot of people, if they go into a city, they call the visitors bureau and they kind of do all this for them. Are you connect up with folks like that, or what's your strategy for integrating?
I'm impressed with the CVB's presence here. That it is a really go-to source for the community here. I haven't found that to be true in some of the other markets that we've talked with people, that's not their obvious go-to, and so I feel like we have an opportunity to partner or create something, because there's a little bit different focus for a CVB with bringing rooms and larger events into town, and then there's a lot that just happens locally, and even then there's still a need to source all of that. So I feel like there's a symbiotic relationship that we could build there.
Andrea, on that point, I've noticed some CVBs have a alternative venue list or an event planner's book, so that might be something to think about, or you already have. I'm wondering, what's the hardest part? What do you think is the biggest challenge? If you get over that hurdle, you're sure it'll work.
The biggest hurdle right now for us is that our vendors do not hang out in the same space. They're competing against each other for that business. There's not like an annual trade show for vendors serving events other than the wedding industry. And so kind of reaching out and finding those hidden gems, are hidden for a reason, finding them, and so we're hoping that our event planners locally will help share that information and source it through an incentivized campaign. That once we kind of trigger that and can source the information into our site, then we'll feel like we're onto something and achieve something there.
Hi again. My question is, have you reached out to any strategic partners? The first thing that came to my mind was a company locally here called Limalink that offers, chauffeur-type services internationally. So have you reached out to anyone that kind of is in similar, not necessarily similar, but pretty close even?
Yeah. Absolutely. We have calls into Limalink to talk with them further about how they've developed their niche market and done really well in that space. So we're well aware of them and excited to speak with anyone who will return our call.
Maybe networking.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Maybe
We're
that's
networking it.
I'm just curious how you came up with your name. Why not, venue cat or dog or whatever else? I don't know.
Could ask a few of the Accelerator teams in here. Finding a name is painful. And this isn't the name that I started with. And when Jared and I connected as co-founders, he brought this name, and we did 10 other names as well, and then we sent out a survey to 100 of our friends, and Venuefox won hands down. So we just went with that, and we wanted to be done. We felt a fox is smart, so we wanted to go with that.
Do you have a theme song? Because I'm kind of wondering what the fox says.
I wish I'd met them right when we were launching.
So, obviously you've got a website. Do you plan on having a mobile presence too? And who's doing your developing? You said your background is, and both your backgrounds are in events. So are you outsourcing the development, or are you doing that?
We have outsourced development to date, but we're making a shift, so we are interested in talking with new developers.
I thought I saw some other hands pop up over here.
Hi, Sam Jacoby, Form Labs, which is not around here. But anyway, just one quick comment, which is been part of a company that's had huge issues with this. And it's always a huge pain for everyone, and not just the admins, but a bunch of people, so it's fantastic.
I didn't pay him to say that.
And I just a point of clarification. We use a lot of sort of, I would say, cool web tools. But in general, once they start charging money, we fall back on free ones. Where exactly does the payment happen? And how does the margin relate to the overall cost of the event? Because, like, let's say I'm throwing a $10,000 event, I'm not really going to want to slice off any of that for anyone else.
Right. So our model is that our vendors want to partner with us to reach into the corporate event space. So we keep this free on the business side, so that connect with that can join our team, and so that would be our biggest challenge right now. And then marketing would be another one, and we're sourcing that currently, but we're willing to talk with lots of people. So that's about it. And I invite you to try Venuefox. Give us a trial run.
Great job. Thanks, Andrea. Give her a hand.